Jordan Davis is the Chief Operating Officer of the Chocolate Moose, the premier ice cream shop in Bloomington, Indiana. The shop has a rich history. It was established in 1933 as May's Café during the Great Depression, became an ice cream parlor called the Penguin in the 1950s, and is operated as the Chocolate Moose since 1983. To this day, they still hand make all of their ice cream. Today, the business extends well beyond its walk-in storefront to include food truck Fridays, catering services, a B2B operation, and a full lunch menu.
Jordan, welcome to the show. Excited to have you here. I want to really kick things off to learn more about the origin of the Chocolate Mousse, because you guys have been around for like a century, right? And you had these reiterations from Maze and the Penguin. So can you kind of give us the background on your guys' origin and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, certainly. So where I'm at right now in my office, this plot of land is where we've been since 1933. So it started out as May's Cafe. The May family started it, and then in 1955, they opened up this tiny little stand, and then it eventually got an A-frame roof on it. So everyone knew the A-frame ice cream stand. So that was there from 1955. It was called the Penguin. And then for 10 years in 1973, they leased the business to another local guy for 10 years. They got it back in 83 after in Doran May, who he just passed away a few weeks ago. We went to his celebration of life last week. He was really a character, a pioneer in the Bloomington restaurant scene. But the way he described it was he ran it, the other guy ran it into the ground. We got it back in 83 and he wanted extra money for the name. And I said, screw you, we'll just call it something else. So his wife said Chocolate Mousse, and he's like, that sounds good. So that's why the name changed from the Penguin to the Chocolate Mousse in 83. The stand existed up until 2016 when it got torn down. Doran had sold the plot of land to developers. We just kind of went along with it, and we're in this standard, whatever, 3+1, first floor retail, 3 stores, apartments. And yeah, we've just been thriving here. But that's how our lineage is kind of accounted for, is this plot of land since 1933.
Yeah, and it's super like not common at all to see small businesses last for, a century. I mean, any tidbits you can share at how to stay alive for that long?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wish I could take credit for, the first 88 years or so. I've been with the company for 12 years. We were very fortunate. The May family, and then this guy, Jeff Grossnickel, who had it before Justin Lovelace bought it 14 years ago. They were incredibly involved in the community. And, we like to think of ourselves as the quintessential Bloomington, Indiana University ice cream shop. We do a lot of stuff with IU athletics. We are just so ingrained. We give to every silent auction you can imagine. We're constantly donating gift cards, tubs of ice cream, free cone cards for school reading programs. And I think the biggest thing for us is just not forgetting our identity is we're more than an ice cream shop. We
Mhm.
are, an anchor within Bloomington, within Monroe County. And I think that's the secret to the longevity, is not just being about the numbers, but giving back and being more than maybe what some people outside of the community see your business as.
I mean, with the football team doing so good this year, I'm sure that helped
It
foot
didn't
traffic
hurt.
going through, which is probably an anomaly if you look at the past 100 years. It hasn't been that way. All right, let's talk a little bit about your operations, like high level. I mean, you guys are more than just an ice cream shop. I mean, you guys looks like you guys do catering. There's food trucks. Can you talk a little bit about your operations?
Yes, certainly. So again, when Justin bought the company 14 years ago, I came on 12 years ago. We were just this tiny little ice cream stand in a parking lot. Now it was a landmark. We were known for always having a line through the parking lot. But even with all that said, we were doing 300,000 in annual revenue. And now in the last 12 years, we've grown that to a little over 2 million. Now we've opened up a second store in our neighboring county, Brown County, Little Nashville, Indiana, which is a cool artist colony, tourist town. So we opened that store. It'll be 10 years in September. But then we've also grown our events and catering. When I started, it was essentially non-existent. So while we don't have a food truck, we do organize Bloomington Food Truck Friday. It was an event
That's it.
Justin and I started 12 years ago that has grown to be maybe the largest weekly event. Alongside, we have a very big farmers market here in Bloomington, but we run it every single Friday, beginning of April through the end of October. And we used to host it in our parking lot. When the stand got torn down, we moved around different locations. And then Bloomington completed this beautiful $30 million park. And you would think that it was made for Food Truck Friday, because we used to have to set up porta pots, tables, chairs, and set it up, tear it down every single week. The infrastructure's all there, but through it's such an easier experience. And there's a playground, there's a splash pad. It's awesome. Uh, Through that, we have become the unofficial food truck wranglers in Bloomington. where we coordinate for large music festivals for IU, for IU athletics. The city, everyone comes to us to book food truck for events. And then we've grown our own personal events and catering where we have a fleet of like 8 of these mobile freezer carts. So a lot of people do think we have a food truck, but we use mobile freezer carts, logoed 10 by 10 tents, which then allows us during IU Welcome Week, we can be at the business school, the music school, school of education, all at the same time without having to have that capital investment into 6 trucks. We can put these freezer carts that can hold about 330 cups of ice cream onto a flatbed trailer, drop it off, go to the next place. So, one thing I'm sure you've had a lot of people express is, I wish there was more of me. I wish I could be more places at once. We feel like we found a way to do that with these mobile freezer carts. So the last leg of our business that I haven't spoke of, we have our 2 retail locations, catering and events is also wholesale. We do a lot of wholesale to Indiana University, to Cook Medical, to local restaurants, to gas stations, you name it. And that's 2.5-gallon tubs, that's prepackaged half pints and prepackaged pints. But yeah, that's kind of, I think, the quick summary of what we are as an ice cream company.
George, I got to jump in here and ask Jordan. So when you're talking about Food Truck Fridays, when this concept came to fruition, this wasn't really part of your business model, nor were you planning on monetizing it. It was just like a hobby that you did that then turned into a revenue stream. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we're right next to a charter school, and we went to their like yearly carnival. And this is, again, we didn't do events at the time. So we had a 10 by 10 generic blue pop-up tent from Sam's Club. We took a chest freezer out like 2 hours early, plugged it in, and there was a couple food trucks there. And when we were on the way back, Lovey, so Justin Lovelace, I'm going to refer to him a lot in this. He's our owner. We worked side by side for a long time, but everyone calls him Lovey. So when I say Lovey, that's what I'm talking about. So Lovey and I are coming back from that event, and he's like, dude, we should get a couple of those food trucks to come set up, drum up some lunch business, because we were always super busy lying through the parking lot at night, but lunch was kind of crickets. And he's like, and then we'll sell some drinks and ice cream. And I was like, dude, what if we had them on Fridays and called it Food Truck Friday? Now, Food Truck Fridays are a popular thing now. 12 years ago, they weren't really a known thing. So if you type in the URL, facebook.com/Food Truck Friday, it's ours. It's the Bloomington, Indiana Food Truck Friday, which I'm really proud of. I think that's cool that we were kind of on the cutting edge of that. We lost money doing that for a few years, just getting it established, figuring out how it makes sense for the vendor. Do we collect 10% of sales? Do we collect a vendor fee? We're investing, we're paying for porta pots. We're paying for tables and chairs, the labor to set up and tear that down. But now, yes, it is a revenue generating event for us that also, as I mentioned, people reach out to us for events. We then get first dibs on which ones we think it are worth for Chocolate Mousse to set up. And our other local, like the popsicle vendor, the Kona Ice shaved ice truck, they trust us. We have a great relationship with them. We like to do cool shit. Like that was our thing. Is like, let's just do cool shit. Like we had food trucks complain. They're like, the bands are too loud. We're like, we don't care. We want to throw a party. Like our whole thing is it's free to attend. And if you want, we've also gotten into bringing back the Taste of Bloomington event. And I'd be happy to talk about that if you'd like. That's another thing that as an ice cream company, you wouldn't expect us to put on a 20,000 person event, but that's something that we have taken on more recently through our food truck experience, and kind of me independently of Chocolate Mousse, I've been spearheading. But yeah, we just want to do cool shit. We love our community. In Bloomington, we have an issue with the unhoused, and we want to help them. And we also want to make it a business friendly environment. But the number 2 issue that, the mayor has been on my podcast and we talked about it. The number 2 issue is attracting and retaining young professionals. And we feel like Food Truck Friday, Taste of Bloomington, cool shit. That's what makes people want to come to Bloomington, makes people want to stay there. So for being just an ice cream company, we do a lot. But sorry, that was a very long-winded answer to your question, Jeff. But yes, now it does generate revenue for us by organizing this event.
Oh, Jordan, that's incredible.
Okay, so if we look at your guys' different revenue streams here, you said you do roughly around $2 million in top line. You have catering, the Food Truck Friday events, ice cream, and then do you guys also do like lunches? It looked like I saw on your guys' website, so like regular like hot dogs and things like that.
Yeah, so we are actually, our chili dog should be the most famous chili dog in the world. And are you guys familiar with the meme sucking on a chili dog outside Tasty Freeze? You know what I'm talking about?
I haven't heard that meme, but I'm from Michigan, and our famous chili dog is Lafayette in Coney
Okay.
Island.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, so in John Mellencamp's song Jack and Diane, he goes, sucking on a chili dog outside tasty free. It's a famous line. It turned into a meme some years ago. But in that music video, that was filmed at our stand. So he says tasty freeze, but it's actually at Chocolate Mousse. So we still do all beef hot dogs. So we make the chili sauce ourselves. We do chicken tenders, potato wedges, some other things. And then we partnered with Patty's to bring back Darn Good Soup, which was this beloved soup company. So we have had soup as our main offering. We brought it back in November, and that has been a game changer for us because Pat approached me and said, hey man, I don't know a lot about restaurants, but I know about building a business and I love this brand and pandemic took it out. I'm thinking about buying it and bringing it back. I was like, well, partner with us. Like, because you sell soup in the winter, we sell ice cream in the summer. We can share staff, we can share a space, and the seasonality just complements each other. So at our Bloomington store, we have Darn Good Soup at the Chocolate Mousse, along with the other food I mentioned. And then in Brown County, at our other main location, we do, sandwiches as well and have a more extensive hot food menu.
It sounds like you guys have lots of irons in the fire. And I'm really curious to just, can you walk us through like what a normal day looks like for you and for an ice cream shop? Like, particularly as you're trying to manage inventory and as you're trying to wrangle staff, like, what are you doing every day?
Yeah, well, really quickly, I'll just tell you what I do. Director of operations for Chocolate Mousse, operations partner with Darn Good Soup. I've DJed since high school, so I do the college bars. I do corporate events. I do weddings. I call bingo 2 nights a week at the college bars. The college kids love bingo. You never know it. I'm the president of the board for Visit Bloomington, our local tourism and convention bureau. Serve on a couple other nonprofit boards, and then I have the podcast. So I'm known kind of in town as like, dude, how do you have the time? And I just tell people I don't have kids. That's the secret. If you don't have kids, what are you doing? You got plenty of time. But as far as Chocolate Mousse specifically, I feel like we have pretty good distinction of roles and responsibilities. So for me, I'm handling all payroll, all scheduling, all donation requests, all emails, marketing, all of that fun stuff. Lovey helps our general managers with inventory and ordering, along with equipment, service requests, incoming invoices. I do a lot of invoicing and POs and all that stuff, especially with IU's payment system. But yeah, we're structured where we have Lovey at the top, then myself, we have a general manager at each location, and then we have shift managers and then general staff. But yeah, the day-to-day is pretty nonstop. I don't know if that really answers your question.
No, this is great. And I'm like, specifically, I know this sounds like it's more of like the general manager's role or like Lovey's role, but how, like, in terms of like making ice cream, what goes into making ice cream? How do you guys forecast it? How long does this stuff keep? Can you like take us down the ice cream rabbit hole and talk about how this works?
Yeah, 100%. So the only person that's been with the company longer than myself and Lovey is the one guy that makes the ice cream. So the guy that makes the ice cream for us to do this amount of revenue, it's one person. He is a one-man show. He's ex-military and he just cranks it out. Like he is a machine. So I don't know personally how to make ice cream because he's been with us for 15 years and I've never had to learn. Now Lovey's learned, he knows how to make it from when he first bought the company. But we essentially, for forecasting, we've been doing it for so long, we don't have a really specific system. I mean, ice cream keeps really well. You can make ice cream, have it in the freezer all winter. It's still a great product in the spring. So we get your base mix. So we use a 14% butterfat, which is similar to like Haagen-Dazs. So the technical term for it is super premium ice cream. So your typical soft serve is going to be 4 or 5%, and then Dairy Queen is like 3%. So it's a very high quality, creamy, great mouthfeel, hard packed ice cream that people will have, these young college, high school students looking for their first job and like, why do you want to work here? And they're like, it just seems easy. And then they go to scoop this ice cream for like a 32-ounce milkshake. And they're like, what did I sign up for? Literally, I don't know if you can see on here. My right forearm is significantly larger than my left just from scooping ice cream. But yeah, we're very fortunate to have Elijah making the ice cream. We do have, par levels. We have a shared events calendar so he can see, oh man, we're about to have an IU football game coming up. We've got, a 1,000-person Sunday bar. So he just kind of makes sure that we stay at these par levels. And that's kind of how we work out the forecasting and make sure that we don't run out of ice cream. And then every Sunday night and Wednesday night, our managers at each location will send an order through Slack. And we have our delivery guy take it from our warehouse. We have a 5,000 square foot warehouse on the south side of town where we store our freezer carts, make the ice cream. We have 2 walk-in freezers, 1 walk-in cooler, and then we distribute it out from there.
As you're juggling all of your operations, how do you decide where to focus your time as COO? Like, do you find that some have a higher ROI than others, or how are you prioritizing your time?
Yeah, our general managers we have at each location are pretty green. They're great, hardworking. And so I try to make sure that I'm coaching and mentoring them as best as I can. I've worked in restaurants since I was 15. I dropped out of college. I've worked my way up. And I feel like I've got a really good sense on just customer service, how to crank it into that extra gear when things really get busy. I still handle a lot of just conflicts even where our general manager is like, hey, I got these 2 people, they're not getting along. And I think just taking a good approach to making sure people feel heard and understood. And I think if your people are happy, your guests are going to be happy. I'm sure you've heard it from other guests on here. I mean, it's something that Chick-fil-A talks about. They're obviously known for their superior customer service, but I think if you put your people first, kind of this anti-Amazon approach, that like you're gonna at least at the scale that we're at, your guests are gonna see that. When we are hiring, we have so many applications because people just say, I've heard great things. It looks like a great place to work. So not only is a great guest experience, it makes staffing a lot easier. But yeah, I mean, to answer your original question, it's nonstop of just trying to make sure my general managers feel supported, that I'm getting to the constant influx of emails in a somewhat timely manner. But it's a constant juggling of prioritization on what is the most time sensitive.
One of the things that I think is really interesting about what you said is that you guys have a gazillion applications that come in when you go out to hire, because I think that's probably not the reality for most small businesses, specifically in college towns. I know that labor is really hard in a lot of locations right now. So kudos to you guys for providing an awesome culture and an awesome experience for people to pop at. One more thing about operations, and then I'll turn it back over to George. I'm really curious just about like the hardest part that nobody warned you about within your role.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest part, and I don't know if I was ever warned about it. I think I just saw it coming up through the ranks in the restaurant world. I mean, it's staffing. It really is. Yes, you might have a ton of applications, but you can be at a good staffing level. And when you're working with a lot of high schoolers and college students, you get a lot of people calling in sick, and we're not the company that asks for a doctor's note. We like to be fairly trusting, but you get yourself in a bind. It is I'm getting phone calls at 11:30 at night when the manager is doing the drawer. It's constant. It never ends. And just when you think you're good on your staffing level, you're not. And I'd like to think we have a fairly low turnover. I don't have it quite measured, but most people stick with us till they graduate. Or if they're out of school and they're just working to live life, they typically stick around for a long time. And we always are very encouraging to people whenever they have a better opportunity. We're never like, I can't believe you're leaving. And it's crazy the amount of people I have tell me that they've had this experience where they leave a company and their boss is mad at them. Like, it blows my mind. It's like, no, is this a better opportunity for you, your family, whatever? Is this what you're more passionate about? Go do it. Like, that's great. Awesome. We'll be a positive reference. Thanks for giving us a 2 weeks notice, which is not as common as it used to be. But yeah, I mean, the hardest part is just constantly covering, trying to forecast, trying to project. In Brown County, we were just talking about earlier today, there was a random Bigfoot convention that we had no idea about. And we're getting popped on a random Wednesday night. And I try my best to keep up with community calendars and when the last day of school is and this or that. But I don't know what a random conventions happening, So it's staffing, it's people. There's so many different personalities. Everyone responds to different approaches. So the hardest part is 100% the people, but it's also the best part because that's those relationships, watching these high schoolers, these college kids grow is by far also the most rewarding part of the job.
I want to pivot a little bit here to talk about growth. Because you guys have a lot of these different service lines. Are you guys like literally just thinking about like, what cool shit do I want to add next? And then like, let's try it out, like dip our toes in. And then if we start seeing success, let's go, really full hog. How are you thinking about adding product lines?
Yeah. I wish I could sit here and say, yeah, we're super intentional and it's all well thought out, but we're so caught up in the day-to-day grind it's rare for us to get that time, which we just recently started doing, where we're taking an hour a week that we're designating to big picture conversations. A lot of it happens organically. Again, we've had a great growth, but it's been over 12 years. So we're just kind of like, okay, it's time to open up another store. And right now, we're in the middle of, are we ready to open up that third store? Our production can handle it, our infrastructure can handle it. It might make things just make more sense as far as the rent at the warehouse, the salary for the ice cream production, you name it. But that's also a fairly large capital investment to open up a third store. And yeah, I mean, we want to explore. We like to say, we're a big part of the IU grad school experience. IU has the largest alumni base in the country. How do we show that? How do we show, like, look at all these shipping orders we get? We've tried shipping ice cream and we failed miserably. So we're trying to get back into that. Graders does it well, Goldbelly, Jenny's. So it can be done and it can be done well. So that's something we're trying to circle back to. But yeah, we try to identify that low for hanging fruit and weigh, do we have the bandwidth to take this on? And is the ROI for that work there?
Yeah, I think another thing you touched on earlier when we first started talking was your wholesale operations. And I'm really curious because most ice cream stands don't have wholesale operations. So, how did you guys start this wholesale operation? And is it like a big piece of your business now?
Yeah, so that was something that we kind of inherited and then grew quite a bit. We were already in like this little convenience store, and I think that was about it. And then we have a local food co-op here, co-op grocery store deal. We were in there for some years, and yeah, we just have a lot of great partnerships with the restaurants. They buy 2.5 gallon tubs, and we drop them by, and it's very informal. They text us, "Hey man, we need an ice cream." We drop it by, $120, whatever. And again, it's just grown organically. Now we did focus on it some years ago, probably I want to say 2017, 2018, where we put in a lot of effort and time to get into Kroger. And we got into Kroger and we ended up thinking it wasn't worth it. So we ended up pulling ourselves out of Kroger. One thing that I feel, because I'm a big foodie. I spend a lot of my money going out to eat. I'm a restaurant nerd. I like just going seeing what place people are doing. Our flavors are fairly basic. We give you a ton of ways to customize your ice cream when you come into our store. But when you're putting our plain chocolate ice cream, or maybe it's chocolate with a Reese cup, or we have our grasshopper, which is mint Oreo, and you put that next to a Jenny's like butter, ooey gooey butter, like all these buzzwords and adjectives, I don't think right now our current flavor lineup is meant to compete with what else is available on the market at the wholesale level. So it might be something we do down the line. And we've toyed with one. I had my personal one that I was like really excited for. We did a salted caramel cappuccino chocolate covered pretzel. And it was so good. But because we don't have the machinery to do those pints super easily, it's again, when we're filling these tens of thousands of half pints we do a year, it's one guy, filling, setting. So that would be a large investment, I think, for us to expand our wholesale much beyond what we're currently doing. But I think we're pretty happy with the level that we're at.
And then for wholesale too, do you have somebody on staff that's like just reaching out to restaurants to be like, hey, you need ice cream? No, it's all inbound.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to be too dismissive, but I was like, oh, George, I wish we did. Yeah, we are not super proactive. Again, myself and Lovey are just so ingrained in our community that it just happens. It just comes about very organically through, yeah, hey, why don't you guys carry our ice cream? Like, you should. Well, let's try it out. And it just kind of happens out.
Can you also, going back, Jordan, on the Kroger deal, I'm really curious because I think that would be like every small business's dream is to get into like some type of national chain. Can you just high level talk about why that didn't work?
Yeah, certainly. We weren't given, they were trying to make it seem like, oh, we gave you this great end cap placement, but we weren't with the other ice creams. And so I think the placement we were given wasn't great. For them to make their money, the margin was super small for us. And then, they had said, hey, if it does well in this market, we'll start doing some cross docking and you can do a mass delivery, then we'll send it out. But, we were going into Kroger ourselves, stocking the shelves. We were doing this at other grocery stores. So the margin just wasn't there for us. And we ended up, again, we have fairly limited bandwidth. I mean, the amount of high level stuff that just falls purely to Lovey and I is a lot. And it's one of the faults of our business is that we're so stuck in the day-to-day grind operations that we don't have the time to be like, what would it take for us to go back into Kroger and do it and really do it right?
And then, I mean, you kind of alluded to it too here. Like when you're at Kroger, there's like 25 different types of mint chocolate chip options. with these buzzword names and unique packaging. So I guess like how do you think of competition in the ice cream space? Is it Kroger itself? Is it other sweet shops, or how do you think of competition?
Yeah, so I guess on a local level, because that's typically, I mean, that's pretty much all we're targeting right now. We're not trying to go take on Jenny's or Graders for the time being, at least. But locally, we don't, right, wrong, or indifferent, we don't look at it as competition. I look at Arita's franchise. I look at Culver's. I look at Dairy. I look at them as competition. I look at these national chains as competition. But we have a lot of great homemade ice cream shops in Bloomington. We have Jiffy Treat. We have Hartzell's, and we're friends with their owners. We help each other. We have this very collaborative spirit, and this goes in the ice cream world and just the restaurant community as a whole in Bloomington. We feel good about the product we're doing. We're not too concerned about what they're doing. We definitely feel like we're the big brother in the market. You know, we've been around for so long, we're so involved that we just kind of do our thing, man. And we do notice, you know, when a Culver's opens, when a Rita's opens, and we might see a little bit of a hit on that. But we try not to get too bogged down with it because we're never going to sell a saucer of ice cream cone for 99 cents like McDonald's. They're selling it as an add-on. For us, it is our bread and butter. So that's we're just trying to, you know, again, be big parts of the community, have a great product, and just give people a nostalgic, awesome experience when they come in here. One, I don't know if this is the right time to tell the story, but I tell it all the time and I'm going to share it. Within the first few weeks of me starting at that old stand, I had a couple come by the window because we took orders and served everything out of this tiny window. So you're be screaming out an order that's ready while someone else is trying to hear an order being placed. And I had this elderly couple, and you know, they get a very old person, like a couple chocolate malts. And we used to have this thing called a Spanish burger that the old folks loved. But they're like, hey, like we're celebrating our 50th anniversary right now. Oh my God, like that's incredible, 50 years. And they're like, our first date was here. And so just like stuff like that, man, like immediately I'm like, shit, like in the people who like, I was brought here as a kid and now I bring my kids here. So like we don't spend a lot on marketing, you know, we just kind of keep that. We want that guest experience to be so great, current, but then also have that flavor of nostalgia that like they just come back anyway. And again, we see a $25 gift card donation to a silent auction as marketing and support. Like we think community involvement is our market.
And that's probably kind of tough as you think about expansion to opening up a third location because your historical locations have so much nostalgia value there, I'd imagine. So when you do think about opening up a third location, like I know like Jeff just opened up a new location with his candy store, like how are you thinking about expansion through location that way when your part of your saying is your core asset is the history that the location has?
Yeah, well, hopefully we can target where there's a concentration of IU alumni that are already familiar with our story. Or if you come into the store here, all of our canvases on the wall, we've got a menu from the Penguin back in the 50s that's showing things at 10 cents. And we have old photos. So we lean in, we pay homage to our history when you come in. So we wanted to tell a story. When you're waiting on your ice cream, you're looking at the stuff on the walls. And so I think we do think the Bloomington market could sustain a second chocolate mousse. We have opened third locations in the past, but they weren't full blown. They were one small, one was like 400 square feet. It was doing okay, but we just thought it was more of a pain in the ass than it was worth. And so now we're like, if we're doing it again, we're doing a full blown standalone location that hopefully can do the annual revenue that this one or the Brown County store does. So I don't know, I think we're just intentional about how we do the storytelling and what the guest experience is to where they learn the history without maybe even realizing they're learning it and finding IU alumni that already are familiar with.
When you look at like, you know, kind of double clicking on what George was saying here about looking at what's next, you have lots of different product lines, you have lots of different channels that you're operating in. Can you talk a little bit about how like the greater macroeconomic cycles affect your decision making? Like, does ice cream tend to sell better during recessions? Do you track the macro cycles? How does your revenue perform with external factors?
Yeah, man, we don't track. We don't track. Like we to a fault, we go a lot off feel, which I shouldn't admit, but it's reality. I mean, again, we're mom and pop. I wish we had more time and capabilities and resources to do that. But yeah, I mean, we are a premium product. You can spend a lot less money going to Dairy Queen. And yes, we can. We do notice that. And I think we're noticing it a little bit now, but we're finding ways to counteract it. I mean, I think everyone is penny pinching more than ever right now. Cost of living's through the roof, cost of goods, everything. And then we get it too when we order from our vendors. You know, we try to not raise prices as little as we can, but it's just a necessary reality necessary evil to stay in business. So we notice it to some degree, Jeff, to answer your question, but it's not something we hyper fixate on. Again, we try to focus on this bubble we're in, and just we have a feel for the community, but that's something that, yes, if we expanded up to Greenwood, if we expanded up to Carmel, if we went 45 minutes an hour away, that we would probably be short. We would not probably, we would be sure to do, because we don't have that intimate feel of the community like we do here. So we need to know what's going on at a macro level and how that's going to impact us for.
Yeah, and I mean, I hear you. You guys, it sounds like you and Lovey are in the day-to-day operations, and that's really what small business is all about, right? Like, you guys don't have like economists and stuff on staff who are tracking these, but overall, like, what trends are you seeing in ice cream and like overall in the sweet industry?
Yeah, I think kind of circling back to what I said about the bougie, intricate flavors. I think people like that and want that, and we've started. Like I said, we did the salted caramel cappuccino chocolate covered pretzel. We did a banana pudding ice cream that has 4 elements when typically most of our ice creams just maybe have 2. So we're trying to lean into that more, and then also just what's Instagram worthy. What are people gonna want to make a picture, take a picture of, or just make a reel of? We have this, you can't see it, but I'm pointing to it. This mural that I get to sit here from my office and watch people constantly take their pictures next to it. So I don't know if I've seen a big trend other than just trying to get things that photograph well, that look cool, that are buzzworthy. That's kind of the only thing that I've noticed that we've leaned into.
And then, like, as you continue to look forward, what's like the one thing that gets you really excited about the future of chocolate mousse?
I think there's a lot of untapped potential. I mean, again, we had a store that IU operated within the student union, which is the second largest student union in the country behind Oregon's, I think. And we're at the IU football games every welcome week, every graduation, every school on campus is using us for these events. So we just need to not even find a way. I think we know the path forward. We just need to make the investment and take the time, prioritize the time to explore these channels further. But dude, just the untapped potential of what chocolate mousse could be gets me so excited, because we have an awesome story. We have an awesome product, and we just need to find the time and resources to get there. And that starts with getting our general managers trained up further, taking on more responsibilities. So Lovey and I are freed up to go and tackle those things.
I want to kind of pull it in like a different direction here. We work with a lot of people who buy businesses, people who are looking to buy businesses. So for business buyers out there that are looking, potentially at like the food retail shop, what should they know?
I mean, I'd imagine they already know that like restaurants have a very high fail rate. Yeah, restaurants are very hard to make it in. I mean, I think it's 90% of new restaurants close within the first 5 years. Something, I might be butchering that stat, but it's something very close to that. And then so you already throw in a really tough industry, and then you say, hey, let's make it super seasonal. I'm very proud of what we've done, because I think it's probably one of, if not one of the hardest industries to make it in. Just, it's a seasonal business. It's a restaurant. We're happy if we're hitting 10% profitability and busting our tail to get there. And it's tough, but I think it's incredibly rewarding. What we always talk about, and we try to remind our staff, is we're getting people at the best part of their day. We're taking the family to go get ice cream, or I'm popping out from the office to go get myself a cone as a guilty little treat, and I'm not telling my wife about it because I'm supposed to be eating healthy. You know what I mean? Like, why? Like, how are we not having fun? Like, so I think if you like the restaurant industry, like, ice cream's great, but it's tough because you have to cut hours in the winter. You got to find things to do. You got to maybe help key employees find other things, like Lovey did with me early on. Because that stand, we would actually close it for 2-3 months, and he had to find ways to keep money coming into my pocket so I didn't go somewhere else. And I think he's seen a ROI, on that. But like, it's tough. It's I think if people don't already know that, that's the main thing I'm telling them, is it's extremely rewarding but extremely difficult, and it presents a lot of unique challenges running a seasonal restaurant.
And then like when people look at restaurant and like particularly ice cream, optically it seems like the margins on like the cost of goods that you're selling, like you have a lot of room there, but like rent and labor eat up a lot of that. Are you seeing that true for your guys' business too? Like rent and labor is where business buyers should be honing in on?
Yeah, I think, well, for us, it's really labor and cost of goods. I mean,
Yeah.
really, your vendors aren't telling you when prices go up. So you have to take time to really keep an eye on that. And then do we need to change prices? How often are we changing prices? Are we going to alienate our regular customers that are very familiar that their regular order comes out to $703 after tax? And then the next time they come in, they're like, wait a second. But for us specifically, it's labor because Dairy Queen, we're really going to nerd out on ice cream here. If you want a soft serve ice cream or Blizz, which is our version of the Blizzard, which I have a photo from our stand in 1956 that said Blizzard 25 cents. We had the Blizzard before Dairy Queen. So I'm just going to throw that out there and I have proof. So anyway, we got a cease and desist, I think, in the 70s when they started doing it. But we call ours the Blizz. So if I'm going to make a soft serve Blizz or milkshake, it is so easy. You pour it in, it blends easy, it's soft. But what we do, and not a lot of homemade ice cream shops do this, is again, we allow this high level of customization where you can take our homemade ice cream and blend it with whatever you want. You can do whatever you want with it. But that takes time. Our large is 32 ounces. Here, I got my water right here. Filling this with ice cream and then blending it so that it's a consistent product top to bottom takes time. When we get a big rush, we need way more staff on hand than a soft serve shop because you have to have people that are able to get that product out in a reasonable amount of time. So for us, it's labor. And I'd be lying if I said we hadn't had discussions about we keep allowing this. Like we could staff so many less people on a busy shift if we didn't have to account for 4 large homemade milkshakes being rang in at the same time. But I think it's part of our identity. It's part of what makes us unique. And my understanding is the other homemade ice cream places in Bloomington don't allow you to blend their homemade ice cream. So we might be foolish, crazy, or smart.
All right, last question I have, and then I want to turn it over to you for final thoughts here. It seems like in the food industry, so much weight is put on what's catching fire on TikTok, what's catching fire on Instagram, and you alluded to this, like having the mural out front for people to get their picture taken. Are you guys bringing in influencers? Like, I don't know, how are you making yourself present on these social platforms?
Yeah, so I hate it, but I'm an influencer, which is not something I ever set out for or wanted, but it's happened organically as most of the things we've done have. So we're lucky that I kind of have that built in through my podcast and through these other community events that I organize in the community that it's a super easy reel. I go up there and I talk to the camera and that gets as good of the engagement does as well as if I spent an hour making a fancy reel. It's wild. But we try to lean into it. We try to have 3 out of every 4 posts, which lately we have not done a great job on. We're honing in on some social media things. We've had some changeover, but typically we want like 3 that are just silly that aren't necessarily selling you anything. That, there's all these trending reels that you do at a bar that we can just make our version that's ice cream. Or like we've done the one where you hand out the ice cream. They're like, oh, I didn't order this. And you grab it and you turn around and you throw it in the face of the person behind you. I don't know if you've seen that one, but I think that one got us like 70,000 views. We had an Instagram reel where I just went as high as I could with a soft serve cone and I could have gone higher, but there was a thing the drip tray that stopped me and that got like 120,000 views. We had an employee who ended up being our social media manager, but when he was just general staff, he made a TikTok on his own personal TikTok where he took a waffle cone, put a hot dog in, did ice cream around it, and took a bite, and it got 1.4 million views on TikTok. But it's insane. So to answer your question, George, we don't bring in influencers. I'm good friends with our quote unquote little foodie queen we have in town. And so, yes, we do bring them in, but we're not paying them. It's more of just friend to friend. Hey, can you help highlight this thing we're doing? And we try to go viral a little bit here and there, but we try to just not make our social media salesy. We wanted to just focus on our people and that we're having fun. And when you see Chocolate Mousse, you associate it with a good time.
I'm ready for some ice cream now. Jordan, where can people find you and learn more about the Chocolate Mousse story?
Yeah, so moosebtown.com is our website. We're on Instagram, Moose Btown, Facebook, just the Chocolate Mousse. We have a separate Instagram and Facebook for our Brown County location that isn't quite as active. And then, Facebook.com/Food Truck Friday, Instagram, Food Truck Friday Btown. If you want, can I plug my podcast?
Yeah, go for it. Plug it.
Podcast is called No Dishes Bloomington. On Instagram, it's No Dishes Btown. On Facebook, it's No Dishes Bloomington. Yeah, No Dishes Bloomington. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, and all the audio streaming. It's syndicated out through Libsyn. YouTube channel. We've got 150 episodes covering the Bloomington restaurant scene, and we've been starting to dip our toe into nonprofits and events as well.
Cool. Appreciate it. I'll follow up with you and we'll put the links in the showcase, but really appreciate the time today, Jordan.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I throw in one more story?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. I don't know.
Bonus edition, Jordan.
You can cut this part and just put it on the Patreon. You
There we
only
go.
get this if you subscribe. The last little like pop culture history nugget we have, Michael Jordan was in Bloomington in 1983 or 84 for the Olympic trials, Bob Knight, Assembly Hall, and Sports Illustrated profiled his time in Bloomington. And so it's on the web, you can go find it. And he's talking about the writers like, so I went and met up with Michael at his favorite place in Bloomington, the Chocolate Moose. And then later in the article, it's talking about him seeing him 10 years later and being like, hey, you remember me? I profiled your time in Bloomington. And he's like, he forgot a lot of things, but one thing he did remember was he had fond memories of the ice cream at the Chocolate Moose. So we always say, if it's good enough for the GOAT, Michael Jordan, it should be good enough for you, you know?